Welcome to Mr. Screen. It was a dark and oppressive night in the multiverse. In one twisted timeline, Tony Stark, the man who had once been a symbol of hope, had become something far more terrifying, Dr. Doom Stark. Fusing Stark's genius with Victor Von Doom's ambition and magic, he created a cataclysmic event called Doomsday. Under his rule, he defeated the new Avengers and transformed the planet into an extension of his vision of absolute control. But in another timeline, a different Tony Stark, a survivor of his own ravaged reality, was determined to right the wrongs of his corrupted counterpart. He had transcended human limitations, donning the superior silver armor and advanced technology with abilities that defied space and time. The fall of the Avengers. The new Avengers were defeated. Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, could barely stand as he stared at the destroyed horizon. Thor, dirty and bloody, clutched his hammer with difficulty. Shang-Chi and Doctor Strange lay fallen, while Kamala Khan and Kate Bishop tried to help the survivors. Dr. Doom Stark, standing over the ruins of New York, watched everything coldly. His golden armor, adorned with mystical runes, pulsed with energy. "You don't understand," he said calmly, his voice echoing like thunder. "I'm not the villain of this story. I am the solution." Doctor Strange, with a last effort, conjured a protective shield around the heroes. "You don't understand, Stark. What you have created is destroying the timelines. This is not control, it is chaos." Doom just smiled. "Chaos is what you have brought to the world. I am merely rearranging the pieces." And with a gesture, he launched a beam of energy that destroyed Strange's shield, leaving the Avengers at the mercy of his will. Just when all seemed lost, a silver flash cut through the sky. The arrival of Silver Tony Stark. Tony Stark emerged from the chaos. His silver superior armor radiated an energy that seemed to transcend time and space. He landed with determination, looking at his distorted self. "It's strange seeing you and thinking that it could have been me. But I won't let it continue." Doom Stark tilted his head curiously. "So, you're the multiverse's answer?" A desperate shadow trying to stop the inevitable. Tony didn't answer. He knew there was no time for words. Activating his systems, he fired at Doom, beginning a battle that would shake the foundations of the multiverse. The fight of the two Tony Starks. The two Starks fought ferociously, their armor lighting up the sky. Doom used a combination of technology and magic, while Tony relied on the superiority of his engineering. But Doom had something Tony didn't: absolute knowledge of the weaknesses of the alternate versions of himself. "You can't beat me," Doom said, as he unleashed a wave of energy that nearly dismantled Tony's silver armor. "I'm you, but better." Tony activated a special ability of his armor, the Absolute Temporal Mode, which allowed him to slow down time and deliver a series of precise blows. Doom staggered, but quickly adjusted. Meanwhile, the new Avengers watched, slowly recovering. Sam Wilson looked at Thor. "We have to help. No matter how strong he is, Stark can't do this alone. A fragile alliance." When the new Avengers tried to join the battle, Doom easily stopped them, using his magic to trap them in energy bubbles. "I've already defeated you once. Do you really think you have a chance now?" At that moment, Tony used the distraction to attack Doom, but was repelled again. Doom glared at him, irritated. "You are persistent. Admirable, but useless." Tony activated a holographic transmission to the Avengers. "Listen up. The battle here is just beginning. Doom is using a temporal anchoring machine in the fortress core. If we don't destroy it, he will have absolute control over all timelines." Doctor Strange, still weak, listened attentively. Messaging the timelines is dangerous. Destroying the core could cause something even worse. Tony hesitated. He knew Strange was right, but there was no other option. Would you rather risk complete destruction or let Doom rule everything? The defeat and the revelation. Despite their combined efforts, Doom defeated the Avengers and Tony again. He left them on the brink of death, returning to his fortress to activate Doomsday. Meanwhile, Doctor Strange began to use his magic to search for a solution. It was then that he had a terrifying vision. The real danger was not Doom. He saw a larger entity forming in the timelines, fueled by the temporal manipulations of all of them. "This can't be happening," Strange murmured. Thor approached. "What did you see, wizard?" Doctor Strange answered in a heavy voice. "Something much worse." an entity created by our mistakes. We need more time. Tony, even though badly injured, stood up. Time? That's exactly what we don't have. Tony's sacrifice. With the Avengers incapacitated and Doom about to complete his plan, Tony made a final decision. He knew the only way to stop Doom was to sacrifice himself. Using the remaining energy of his armor, he invaded Doom's fortress, facing him one last time. "You'll never understand," Doom said, as he launched the final blast at Tony. Tony, smiling despite the pain, replied, "Maybe you don't need to understand. I just need to end this." He activated the self-destruct core of the superior silver armor, creating an explosion that disintegrated the fortress and seemingly destroyed Doom. A new threat. When the dust settled, the Avengers found only wreckage. Thor lifted Tony's silver helmet in silence. Sam Wilson placed a hand on his shoulder. "He saved us. But at what cost?" Doctor Strange looked toward the horizon, worried. His sacrifice was in vain if we don't deal with what's coming. Sam frowned. "What's coming?" Strange turned to them, his face grim. "What we have created with our actions. An entity that transcends all. We must prepare ourselves for the Beyonder." And so, as the multiverse reeled from the chaos, a new threat emerged, greater and more mysterious than anything they had ever faced. The silence after the explosion was suffocating. The wreckage of Doom, Stark's fortress, lay scattered for miles. A gray haze covered the horizon, like a funeral pall for Tony Stark, the man who had sacrificed everything. The remaining Avengers stood together, wounded and exhausted, surveying the devastated landscape. Thor held Tony's silver helmet, his eyes fixed on it with a mixture of respect and regret. "Iron Man died like a true warrior," he said, his deep voice echoing in the silence. Doctor Strange remained silent, his hands clasped behind his back. His mind was elsewhere, reliving the disturbing vision he had seen moments before the explosion. When he finally broke the silence, his voice was thick with concern. The victory over Doom is not the end. In fact, it may have been the beginning of something much worse. Sam Wilson, leaning on his shield, raised his head with difficulty. "What did you see, Strange? Don't hide anything from us now." Doctor Strange turned to them, his face carrying an expression of deep gravity. "Doom's temporal manipulations, combined with our own mistakes, have triggered an anomaly in the fabric of reality. An entity has awakened. Something far greater and more powerful than Doom could ever dream of being." "Who or what is this entity?" asked Kamala Khan, her voice shaking. "The Beyonder," Strange replied, pausing to let the name hang heavy in the air. "An entity of absolute power, existing outside of time and space. He is no ordinary being. He is a force of existence itself. And he knows we are here." Before anyone could respond, a burst of energy flashed through the wreckage. The ground shook, and suddenly a figure emerged from the ashes. It was Tony Stark, still wearing the superior silver armor, though it was more worn and radiating a new, unsettling energy. Stark's rebirth. Thor stepped forward, hammer in hand, but hesitated when he saw the figure. "Stark, are you alive?" Tony smiled slightly, but his expression was darker than ever. "Alive is relative, Thor. The explosion changed me. The superior armor absorbed Doom's energy and something else. Now I am different. Stronger." Doctor Strange frowned, watching Tony carefully. "You've been touched by Doom's time core. Your energy isn't just technology now. It's mixed with something beyond that." "I know," Tony replied, "and that's why I came back. We can't waste any more time. If what you said about the Beyonder is true, Doom wasn't our biggest problem. He was just the introduction." Strange's explanation. Doctor Strange gestured, conjuring a mystical projection of multiple intertwined timelines. When Doom began manipulating the timelines, he forced the multiverse to react. His every action caused ripples that rippled through the fabric of reality. And we weren't innocent in this. Our own time travel, our mistakes, it all contributed to this. He pointed to a central line that pulsed with intense light. The Beyonder is a manifestation of the multiverse's backlash. He was created to assess and correct our failings. But his correction will not be merciful. He does not distinguish heroes from villains. To him, we are all guilty. "So what does he want?" Sam asked. "Justice," Strange replied. "His way. He will erase anything he considers a threat to the balance." Stark's strategy. Tony interrupted, his voice firm. Then we have to stop him before he decides that balance means destroying everything. You say it like it's easy, Kate Bishop retorted. We're talking about an entity that, from what I understand, is more powerful than anything we've ever faced. Which is why we need a plan, Tony said. He raised his arm, activating a hologram projected from his armor. My armor is enhanced by Doom's energy. If I can channel it correctly, perhaps we can create an opening to confront him. Dr. Strange shook his head. This is a huge risk. The energy you've absorbed is not stable. It could destroy us before we have a chance to use it. Since when have we done things without risks? Tony replied with a slight smile. The Beyonders' first appearance. As the group argued, the sky began to change. The clouds parted, revealing a blinding light that seemed to consume the horizon. A figure emerged, seemingly composed of pure energy. It was the Beyonder, his form floating like a mix of humanoid and cosmic abstraction. You have toyed with the fabric of existence, he declared, his voice reverberating in every direction. Now I have come to right your wrongs. Thor raised his hammer, advancing. You will not right anything. Not while I am here. Thor's blow was useless. The Beyonder stopped the attack with a simple gesture, leaving the god of thunder stunned. Your strength pales in comparison to my purpose, the Beyonder said, emotionless. Tony stepped forward, the superior armor glowing brightly. Then perhaps you wish to face someone who has also transcended human limitations. The Beyonder looked at Tony, intrigued. You carry a spark of what destroyed Doom. But that is not enough to stop me. The sacrifice and the promise. The battle began. Tony used every resource of the superior armor to keep the Beyonder occupied, while the other heroes tried to find a way to intervene. Even with their combined powers, the Avengers were completely outmatched. In a moment of desperation, Dr. Strange began to cast a complex spell. If we can't destroy him, he said, perhaps we can imprison him, at least long enough to find another solution. Tony realized what Strange was trying to do and decided to act as bait. Strange, do whatever it takes. I'll keep him occupied. The Beyonder noticed the attempt and began to advance to interrupt the spell. Tony, with a cry of defiance, unleashed the full energy of his armor in a final attack. The resulting explosion created an opening for Dr. Strange to complete the spell, temporarily trapping the Beyonder in a containment dimension. The new mission. When the dust settled, the group saw that Tony was alive, but his armor was completely deactivated. He looked at the others, exhausted. This was just the beginning. He'll escape eventually. We need to be ready. Dr. Strange agreed. And next time, he won't be so easily stopped. Thor placed his hand on Tony's shoulder. You proved that even in the shadows of defeat, there is still hope. Tony smiled slightly. Well, someone has to be the optimist, right? And so, while the threat of the Beyonder remained dormant, the heroes began to plan their next move, knowing that the real battle was yet to come. To be continued. So what did you think of this story? If you've come this far, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.